Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept the humble obeisances. All glories to Bhagavad Krishna Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace SRIVAS VANACARI. And all glories to our assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. Today we are very much blessed. We have His Grace SRIVAS VANACARI. With us, who will be sharing with us the nectarine Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, we encourage all the devotees to be quite attentive because by the end of this katha, we all will be very much enriched in Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhuji, as always, we thank you so much for being here. And without further ado, we may put the verse on the screen and you take it over from here. I think today we have 3 verses to cover today.
Yeah, we have 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay.
Yeah, 10.
Right. 7 through 10. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
10 to
Hare
4
Krishna.
verses. Hare Krishna. Jai. Narayana Namaskritya Narachaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayasva Badrisu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamas Loke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Diti in the evening. And today we are treating text 7, 8, 9, and 10. I will just go through 7, 8, and 9, and then we would go to 10, where we would chant the sloka together. So I'll just go through. 7 says, Atatra piti hosoyam srutame vanita puraha brahmana deva devena devanam anuprichatam. Translation: the history of the fight between the Lord as a boar and the demon Hiranyaksha was heard by me in a year long ago, and it was described by the foremost of the demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by the other demigods. 8 says, Ditir dakshayani shata maricham kashapam patim apatya karma chakame sandhyayam hirchayadritaha. Translation: Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband Kasyapa, the son of Marichi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. 9 says, Iswagni jivam payasha purusham yajusham patim nimlo chati arka ashinam agni agare samahitam. Translation: the sun was setting and the sage was sitting in trance. After offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, whose tongue is the sacrificial fire. Small purport. Fire is considered to be the tongue of the Personality of Godhead Vishnu, and oblations of grains and clarified butter offered to the fire are thus accepted by him. That is the principle of all sacrifices, of which Lord Vishnu is the master. In other words, the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu includes the satisfaction of all demigods and other living entities. 10. 10 says, Ditir Uvacha Isamam Twat Krite Vidwan Karma Ata Sarashanaha Dunoti Dinam Vikramya Rabam Iva Matangaja Ditir Uvacha. Isamam Twat Krite Vidwan Karma Ata Sarashanaha Dunoti Dinam Vikramya Rabam Iva Matangaja Diti Uvacha Isamam Twat Krite Vidwan Karma Ata Sarashanaha Dunoti Dinam Vikramya Rambam Iva Matangajaha. So word for word translation. Diti Uvacha, beautiful Diti said, Isaha, all these, Mam unto me, Twat Krite for you, Vidwan, O learned one, Karmaha, Cupid, Ata Sharashanaha, taking his arrows, Dunoti, distresses, Dinam, poor me, Vikramya, attacking, Rambam, banana tree, Eva, like, Matam Gaja, mad elephant. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. In that place, the beautiful deity expressed her desire. O learned one, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. Purport. Beautiful deity, seeing her husband absorbed in trance, began to speak loudly, not attempting to attract him by bodily expression. She frankly said that her whole body was distressed by sex desire because of her husband's presence. Just as a banana tree is troubled by a mad elephant, it was not natural for her to agitate her husband when he was in trance, but she could not control her strong sexual appetite. Her sex desire was like a mad elephant, and therefore it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection by fulfilling her desire. Om Jnana Timiridasya Jnanan Janashalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuktapada Kamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sanjivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tetari Iti Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvesai Sashunyavadi Pasanchade Satarini Vanchakalpatarvyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namini gauratize namaha. Nityanando vatutendur vasuda pranavalabha Janaviri jivita patir Krishna prema prabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gora Kilevaraha Advetam Harina Dvetaracharya Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Sham Advaita Charya Shraye Panchatattamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Srato Pangur Mama Mandir Gatima Sarvaswa Padambujo Radha Mandana Mohano Divyarvendaranya Kalpadrimanda Sriman Ranadgara Simhastanastau Srila Govinda Devo Pristyani Visnevya Manusmarami Srimam Rasa Rasarambi Ivam Sivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswanai Gopi Gopinata Sriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishnamai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarvam Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we read the translations again. Verse 7 says, this history of the fight between the Lord as a boar and the demon Hiranyaksha was heard by me in a year long ago, as it was described by the foremost of the demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by the other demigods. 8 says, Diti, the daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband Kasyapa, the son of Mariki, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. And 9 says, the sun was setting and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, whose tank is the sacrificial fire. And 10 says, in that place, the beautiful deity expressed her desire. O learned one, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. Mukam karoti va chalam pangum lagai te grim yat kari patama hanvande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakram Vyaptaina Chara Charam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share a few points on this collection of verses from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the calamity that confronts deity. So, but before we say anything, we pray at the lotus feet of all these wonderful assembly of Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, so that by their mercy, we can say something relevant to our spiritual life, our progress, and maybe also relevant for the audience or to the audience. This topic is a very difficult topic to discuss, but we shall try our best to see what we can glean from these verses. So, verse 7, is saying that this history of the fight between the Lord as a boar and the demon Hiranyaksha was heard by me in a year long ago, as it was described by the foremost of the demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by other demigods. So the point in this verse is the history of the Leela of Lord Boar fighting the great demon Hiranyaksha. So the Lord performs many pastimes. The question may arise, why does the Lord perform so many pastimes? And the answer we can get from the scriptures is that all these pastimes that have been performed by the Lord is for the hearing purpose of the devotees. Because the Lord wants to reveal his identity to the devotees. He has to engage in activities that brings out the supremacy of Krishna. It is said that to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, 6 truths has to be understood. 6 truths have to be understood. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva, Saraha, Bhava Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Lila Tattva, Araha. That to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead completely, to engage in Krishna consciousness, to understand the science of Krishna, 6 truths are required. And what are those 6 truths? Krishna Tattva, the truth about Krishna. Bhakti Tattva, the truth about Bhakti. Prema Tattva, the truth about Prema, love of Godhead. Bhava Tattva, the truth about emotional activities in Krishna consciousness, emotional feelings, emotional exchanges between the Lord and the devotees. This has to be understood. Rasa Tattva, the mellows that exist between the Lord and the living entity. This has to be understood. And finally, Lila Tattva, which is what is being discussed in this verse. Lila Tattva, the activities of the Lord. The Lord, he incarnates in so many ways just to perform numerous leelas, beautiful leelas, blissful leelas, attractive leelas, just to attract the minds of the conditioned souls, and of course, to give pleasure to the devotees. When Krishna says, Paritranaya sadunam vinasaya cha duskritam, that protection Krishna is talking about is giving pleasure, giving the devotees opportunity to hear about him, to appreciate his transcendental qualities. And by hearing, speaking, and relishing the activities of the Lord, the devotees' devotional service becomes protected. The devotees' future becomes protected. The devotees' journey back home, back to Godhead, becomes protected. So therefore, understanding Krishna Tattva, understanding Bhakti Tattva, understanding Prema Tattva, understanding Bhava Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Lila Tattva are very, very essential for a progressive devotee on the path of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the demigods, they are asking Brahma about this Lila of Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, how Lord Varahadev fought with Hiranyaksha. And so this story is being narrated. If you go to text 8, it says, Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband, Kasyapa, the son of Mariki, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. So, it is a duty of the husband to satisfy the wife. It is the duty of the husband to give the wife a child. It is a duty of the husband to provide whatever the wife needs. And so it is not out of place that Diti, afflicted with sex desire, is begging the husband, Kasyapa, to satisfy her desire. And of course, this was for the purpose of begetting children. As Krishna mentions in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Dharma viruddho bhuteshu karmot istimi bharata sabaha. Krishna is saying, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. What is religious principles? When sex life is engaged in for the purpose of procreation, it falls within the jurisdiction of religious principles. The purpose of sex is to procreate. That is the reason why this facility was provided, for the purpose of procreation, for the purpose of continuity of the species, the human species. So therefore, it was not out of place for DT to beg the husband to have intercourse with her for the purpose of bringing forth a child. There is no any other way by which children can be brought into this world except through sexual intercourse. So DT, as a wife, she cannot go anywhere else. She cannot approach anybody else. She has to approach her husband, Kasia Pamoni, and she's doing that. Because the only hitch is it was at the wrong time. That is the only challenge in this situation, that DT is approaching the husband at the wrong time. And because the husband succumbed to DT's request, DT's desire, they ended up bringing in some great demons that troubled the world. So sex life is necessary for the purpose of procreation, but there are appropriate times when the result will be wonderful, and there are also inappropriate times when the result will be disastrous. So DT did not consider that. And even though the husband knew, but he was proper right in one purpose, Kasiapa wasn't strong enough to resist DT's approach. So the result was they copulated at the wrong hour, and as a result, great demons were born. Text 9 says, the sun was setting and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of God and Vishnu, whose tongue is a sacrificial fire. So the tongue of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered, now fire is considered the tongue of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is why oblations of grains and clarified butter, ghee, are offered to the fire so that they can be accepted by the Lord through the fire. It is also mentioned that in the small purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the tongue, the mouth of the Brahmanas, the mouth of the Brahmanas also represent the tongue of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means fire represents the tongue of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the mouth of the Brahmanas also represents the tongue of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we feed fire with samigri or grains and ghee, we are feeding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, when we feed Brahmanas, Brahmana Bhojan, when we give food, prashadam, to Brahmanas to eat, it's called Brahmana Bhojan. We are also worshiping the Supreme Lord. We are also feeding the Supreme Lord through feeding the Brahmanas. So therefore, it is said, Yat pujaya karma dugam yati lokam grinavitaha Brahmano Agnischa Va Vishnu Sarvadevatmano Mukam. That by worshipping the fire and the Brahmanas, a householder can achieve his desired goal of reaching the higher planets. For the sacrificial fire and the Brahmanas are considered to be the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. So this is important because most of the time people say they want to experience the presence of God, they want to serve God if they can find God. So here it is revealed that when we throw grains and ghee into the fire, sacrificial fire, God is present there. His tongue, his mouth is present there. And so God receives our offering. Similarly, when we offer nice food stuff to Brahmanas, Krishna is also present there. By feeding the Brahmanas, we are feeding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So instead of waiting to see the Lord face to face and feed him, the very scriptures are telling us that we can feed the Lord by performing yagya and feeding the sacrificial fire with samagri and ghee, butter. And also by feeding the Brahmanas with nice prasadam, the Supreme Lord can be satisfied. In fact, it is mentioned that when Krishna was on the planet, when Krishna was in Dwaraka, he used to feed Brahmanas every day. And he used to give cows to the Brahmanas every day. He said from each palace, Krishna has 16,108 palaces. From each palace, Krishna was given 13,000 plus cows, decorated with gold and so on, silk and so many expensive dresses. And Krishna would always feed the Brahmanas every day. Even Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he demonstrated how dear the Brahmanas are to him. Every blessed day, he was giving so many cows. So from 16,108 palaces, he has given us 13,000, I think 608 cows, Surabi cows. If you multiply that 13,000 by 16,108, so many cows are going out every day to the Brahmanas. And he's also feeding them on top of that. So here, Krishna is demonstrating how important it is to feed the Brahmanas, to take care of the Brahmanas, to gift the Brahmanas. So, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, we can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the sacrificial fire or by serving the Brahmanas nice prasadam. Now we go to the text 10, which is the main text for the day. It says that in that place, Diti, beautiful Diti, expressed a desire. O learned one, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly, as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Diti, seeing her husband absorbed in trance, began to speak loudly, not attempting to attract him by bodily expression. She frankly said that her whole body was distressed by sex desire. Kasyapamani was in trance. So there is no question of seeing. When somebody is in trance, he is no more aware of his external environment. To be in trance means one is concentrating on the supersoul. One is concentrating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One is concentrating on something very high. So the external environment is cut off. So therefore, Diti could not attract the husband by any physical gestures. So the only way she could do that was to speak very loudly. And by speaking very loudly, then the sound vibration will enter Kasyapa's ears, and that would bring him out of his meditation. And in fact, that strategy that Diti took brought results. He was able to get a husband out of the deep meditation to understand her predicament, and then attended to her needs. So from here, we can understand how these lusty desires can be of great trouble to the living entity. Diti compared the attack of Cupid, the attack of lusty desires, to be like a mad elephant that is troubling banana trees. And this is a very interesting analogy. When a mad elephant enters a farm, when a mad elephant enters a banana farm or a plantain farm, he destroys everything. It's a disaster. So from this analogy that Diti is giving, we can have a glimpse of the trouble she was going through. She was completely devastated by this sex desire. So, sex desire originates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned, Tamasakcha Vikruvanat Bhagavad Virya Choditaha Sabda Mantram Abutasman Nabashrustram to Samdagam. That when egoism in ignorance is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the subtle element sound is manifested. And from sound comes the ethereal sky, and then the sense of hearing. So the word here is Bhagavad Virya Chodita, compelled by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is how the creation started. Without the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of creation. It is the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that ignites creation. We hear from third canto how the combinations of the egoism in ignorance, egoism in passion, egoism in goodness, how they combine. And from that combination, so much transformation took place. And the catalyst, the necessary ingredient for this transformation to take place is the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is described as Bhagavat Virya. Bhagavat Virya. Bhagavat Virya means the sex energy. Then when the word Chodita is added, it means compels. The sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead compels the transformations, compels the combinations, compels the creation to take place. So this sex energy is called Adiras. Adiras. This Adiras is the original loving propensity or loving relationship that Krishna has with all living entities. Krishna, it is said in the beginning he was alone, because that is a statement. There is no point in time we can refer to when Krishna was alone. But the scriptures say that in the beginning Krishna was alone, and then he decided to expand himself. He decided to multiply into many. Bahusham. He was one. And then that one became many. That's what the Upanishads say. So the relationship between Krishna and the many, the living entities that Krishna created or expanded into, the relationship between the Lord and the living entity is called Adi Ras. And this Adi Ras is the loving propensity that exists between the Lord and his parts and parcels. So in the spiritual realm, or when one is liberated, he enjoys this Adi Ras with Krishna. But when one is in a conditioned state, this Adi Ras is converted into lust. We learn from the Nectar of Devotion that there are 12 rasas, 5 primary or direct, and 7 secondary or indirect. The 5 primary or direct rasas includes Madhurya Ras, Vasalya Ras, Sakya Ras, Dasya Ras, and Santa Ras. These are the direct or primary relationships, rasas, that every living entity can exercise with the Supreme Lord. Then there are also these 7 indirect rasas or secondary rasas. When any of these primary rasas is influenced or mixed with any of these indirect or secondary rasas, the secondary rasas become prominent, or the indirect rasas become prominent. They suppress the primary rasas. So what are these indirect rasas or secondary rasas. They are described as Hasya Bhakti Rasa, Hasya Bhakti Rasa, a rasa of laughter. We have Adbhuta Bhakti Rasa, a rasa of wonder. We have Virya Bhakti Rasa, a rasa of chivalry. We have Karuna Bhakti Rasa, a rasa of compassion. We have Rudra Bhakti Rasa, a rasa of anger. We have Bhayananka Bhakti Rasa, a rasa of fear. And we have Bibhatsa Bhakti Rasa, a rasa of ghastliness or horror. So all these are the 7 indirect rasas or secondary rasas that are part of the 12 rasas that exist between the Lord and the living entities. So all of these 12, they combine to form the Adiras, the original rasa, which actually is the loving dealings between the Lord and his devotees. So in the conditioned state, these loving dealings is transformed into lust. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 37, Srila Prabhupada talked about the transformation of this lust, of this love into lust. In fact, the verse is Karmo isakrodai sarajo guna samo bhavaha mahasano mahapapa vidi inam iha varinam. Arjuna was asking the question of the greatest enemy. And Krishna tells him it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. So in that purport, Srila Prabhupada says, when a living entity comes in touch with the material world, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in the association of passion. And he gives the analogy just like milk in the association of tamarind is converted into yogurt. Similarly, this adiras, this loving relationship between the Lord and the living entity is transformed into lust, which is manifested as sex desire. So this blissful loving experience of the Supreme Lord with his expansions, as demonstrated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his manifested Leela in Navadvip. We all know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually brought to life this adiras. He demonstrated how this adiras is actually the right of the living entity. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Navadvip, he would organize this nocturnal kirtans in the home of SRIVAS Pandit, and only selected devotees would participate. It was not open to the public. Unless you were personally invited, you were not allowed in. And in that kirtan, Lord Chaitanya will break open the treasure house of love of Godhead and allow all the participants to experience this adiras. And everyone was completely satisfied. everyone was always refreshed. Everyone was always joyful in participating in that nocturnal kirtan. The devotees were always hankering for that nocturnal kirtan. When it was night and people were hastily going to sleep, making plans to sleep, to enter into ignorance, tamasa, Lord Chaitanya will gather his close, intimate associates and he would give them a taste of Adiras, the sweetness of Krishna consciousness. So Lord Chaitanya demonstrated that it is possible for the living entity to revive this, to revive this Adiras, to return to this Adiras, to experience this Adiras, because it's our right. It's our eternal right. It's our constitutional position to experience this ras. So Lord Chaitanya demonstrated it even with animals. When Lord Chaitanya was traveling through Jharkhand forest, there were wild animals, tigers. They could have attacked him and his servant, Balabhadra. But Lord Chaitanya had a solution. Lord Chaitanya he understood that the only thing to make these animals friendly, to make these animals sober, is to let them taste this adiras. So the Chaitanya, he would kick a tiger from the back and say, Chant Hare Krishna. He would splash water on the elephants and say, Chant Hare Krishna. He would see deer, Chant Hare Krishna. So all the animals in Jharkhand, under the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they all tasted the nectar of Krishna consciousness, this adiras. And immediately said, the animals gave up their enmity. Tigers were dancing with deer, they were kissing, they were embracing. Eternal enemies became friends. That is the power of adiras. That is the power of love of Godhead. It can nullify all animosities. It can nullify all frictions. So this adiras is what everyone is actually hankering for. Unfortunately, in the material world, this adiras is converted into lust, and it is harassing, ravaging living entities, even including very exalted living entities. In the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma became attracted to his daughter, Vak. Lord Brahma's daughter is called Vak. The beauty of this girl was so great that Brahma couldn't contain himself. He became very lusty and ran after the daughter, wanted to have sex with her. The sages have to plead, dear father, don't do this. This is horrible. In fact, it is said Lord Shiva became so disturbed. Lord Shiva picked up his trident and wanted to kill Brahma. The other brothers have to plead, please, he's our father, he's a creator. If you kill him, what is going to happen to the universe? Please don't. And on the plea of the other sages and sons of Brahma, did not kill Brahma. But Shiva, he has an ability, he is very powerful. Even though he is also a son of Brahma, but he is very powerful, he can kill Brahma. Even the sun god is afraid of Lord Shiva. It is said that once Lord Shiva gifted an airplane to his disciple, Vidyamali, a demon. And this Vidyamali, he would travel behind the sun and he would make sure there's no darkness. Wherever the sun is moving away and there's darkness, Vidyamali would take his airplane, very brilliant as the sun. He would be behind the sun and make sure there's no darkness. So the sun god became very angry. And then he increased his virulence, his power, his light, his heat, and melted Vidyamali's airplane. And so Vidyamali almost lost his life. He has to jump out of his airplane and run to Lord Shiva to complain. Lord Shiva became very angry and at the sun god. He picked up his trident and ran after the sun god. He wanted to kill the sun god for destroying his disciples' beautiful, brilliant airplane he had gifted him. So the sun god had to run to Benares, Varanasi. There is a place called Lokarka. That is where, even if you go to Benares today, the spot is there. They said the sun god went there and fell down because Lord Shiva's eternal deity is in Benares. He fell down at Lord Shiva's feet, and Lord Shiva was pacified. He did not kill the sun god. So Lord Shiva is so powerful that he can kill Brahma. He can even kill the sun god. So great personalities like Brahma was affected by this lust. Even Lord Shiva himself, when he saw Mohini Murti, of course that's a special case. Mohini Murti was so beautiful. She was so attractive. That's the supreme beauty. Lord Shiva was not there when Mohini Murti appeared on the what do you call it? The churning of the ocean. The churning of the ocean, whereby they produced the nectar, and the demons wanted to snatch it and run away. The Lord appeared in the Mohini Murti form and took the nectar from the demons, and he deceived the demons and gave the nectar to the demigods. Lord Shiva did not witness that. So later on, Lord Shiva requested that he wanted to see that beautiful form of the Lord who was able to deceive the demons and take the nectar. So Mohini Murti agreed to appear before Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva saw this beautiful form of the Lord, he could not control himself. He started discharging semen. Even in the presence of his wife, he ignored his wife Parvati and was running after this beautiful form of the Lord and discharging semen. What to speak of Indra? Indra was so attracted to Gautama Rishi's wife, Ahalya, and he disguised himself as Gautama Muni, and then he polluted Gautama Muni's wife, and as a result, Gautama Muni cursed the wife to become a stone, until Lord Ram came there and touched that stone with his foot. Then Ahalya regained her life. Vishwamrita was a great sage performing austerities in the forest. He wanted to become a Brahma Rishi. He was initially a Kshatriya, but when he witnessed the power of Vasishtha Muni, he was appreciative of the Brahminical power, Brahmana Ojas. So he decided to give up the Kshatriya Varna and elevate himself to the Brahmana Varna. So he performed great austerities to become a great yogi. But when Menaka appeared on the scene, he lost it. He became attracted because of this lust, sex desire. He lost it. And as a result, a baby girl was born. So we can see how much Diti is being harassed by this sex desire. And because she's being harassed by this sex desire, she has to compel the husband. It's the saintly husband, Kasyapa Muni, who was in trance. He was in meditation. But when the wife was harassed by sex desire, she has to draw the husband's attention to her situation. And it was the duty of the husband, Kasyapa, to take care of the wife's needs. So he has to succumb. Even though he told the wife that that moment was not right, it was inauspicious, and that the children they are going to bear will be great demons. But he could not resist. So as I said, Prabhupada said, Kasyapa was not strong enough to resist the allurements of deity. In fact, Prabhupada compares Kasyapa with Haridas. So Haridas Thakur, even though he was a young boy, a young man, and was confronted in the middle of the night by Maya Devi herself with all the charms, with all the allurements, but Haridas was tasting nectar from chanting the holy name, and therefore he did not agree to the proposal that was being made by Maya Devi, who had come to allure him. So, Lord Chaitanya prays in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in this regard. Karma dinam katina katida palita dunidesas te shamjata maina karuna na tapa nopa shantihi. He said, "Oh my Lord, there is no limit to the unwanted orders of lusty desires. There is no limit. Although I have rendered these desires so much service, they have not shown any mercy to me. And I myself, I am not ashamed to serve them. Or have I even a desire to give them up?" So this is the situation in this material world. We have rendered service, so much service to lusty desires for many, many lives. In fact, in every living form, this lust is pursued. Even among the ant kingdom, the lust is there. The insect kingdom, the lust is there. The bird kingdom, the lust is there. The animal kingdom, the lust is there. Human beings, the lust is there. Demigods, the lust is there. So everyone has rendered so much service to these lusty desires, but they don't show any mercy. They don't allow you to be free. They continue to harass you in so many ways. So the only way out of this situation is to take shelter of Krishna's devotees. That's the only way out. Ko nabajya karo samsara kashoya mukha hoyaya sadhu sange tabe Krishna rati upajaya. That by some good fortune, when one becomes eligible to cross the ocean of innocence, when one's term of material existence decreases, one may get the opportunity to associate with the pure devotees of Krishna. By such association, one's attraction to Krishna is awakened, and one's lusty desires become slackened. So associating with devotees, especially if we get a chance to associate with advanced devotees, it means our material existence is coming to an end. When one's time of material existence decreases, one may get the opportunity to associate with pure devotees. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also mentioned. Dulabo manasho deho, dehinam shana bangura. That the human form that we have acquired it is very difficult to get. Dulaba dehinam. Dulaba means very difficult. It's very difficult to get a human form. And even though it's very difficult to get a human form, it is very easily destroyed. Dehinam shana bangura. Shana bangura means very easily destroyed. But what is the purpose of this human form, which is so difficult to achieve? The purpose is Vaikunta Priya Darshanaha. Vaikunta Priya Darshanaha. It means to associate with the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It means to interact regularly with the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the solution by which we can escape this lusty desires manifesting as sex life, which is harassing everybody in this material world, even including exalted personalities like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and many other great sages. So if we constantly associate with the pure devotees, association means we hear them. We hear them all the time. We listen to them. We drink. We imbibe their words. We hear their words. It's like eating. It's like eating. Uddhava mentions to Krishna, Tava Vikriditam Krishna, Nrinam Paramamangalam, Piyusham, Karnapi Yusham Aswadya. He says, my dear Krishna, your pastimes, Tava Vikriditam, your pastimes are like beverages for the ears. Karnapi Yusham Aswadya. They are very tasty for the ears. And therefore they constitute a great auspicious activity. Nrinam Paramamangalam. They constitute a great auspiciousness for a living entity. So hearing about Krishna from the pure devotees, from the advanced devotees, that is the solution. How to quench this fire of lust manifesting as sex desire that is troubling everyone, as described by Diti. Diti is being harassed. He compares that harassment to an elephant in a banana farm. So actually, the material world is described as Maitunya Agra. It is the abode of sex life. Once you're in the material body, you'll always be attracted. Even when you don't want it, you'll always be attracted. Women would do things in a way to attract men, and men would do things in a way to attract women. That is natural. Women want attraction. They want attention. Men want attention. They want attraction. So they throw out the energy. And even if you are not meditating on it, you are not interested in it, but you become attracted. So once I was discussing this issue, His Holiness Bhakti Tito Swami Maharaj, about sex desire. And he says, so long as you have a material body, you'll be attracted. It's just that you have to be very determined not to participate. So attraction will always be there because the material body will be attracted. But one has to be very determined not to get involved. So, to conclude, sex life is not a new thing. It is a universal affair. Demigods are not free from it. Even great personalities are not free from it. Kasyapa Muni and the wife, they are not free from it. But if we give oral reception to the pastimes of Krishna, then the disease of the heart will be cured. Actually, there's a verse, like how to cure the disease of the heart is by hearing the rasa dance. The rasa dance, which we are actually prohibited to discuss, because if one is not very advanced and you discuss this rasa dance, you may be affected. But it also says that by hearing the pastimes of this rasa dance, that is the medicine that can purify our polluted hearts. That is the medicine that can remove this disease of lust. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well,
So any comments or questions? I'm still looking for one verse. The verse. Yeah, there's a verse here. 10, chapter 10, chapter 33, verse 39. He's also talking about Vikri Ditam Vraja Vadubir Idam Cha Vishnuhu Shraddha Vito Nushrunuyat Atar Varayat Yaha Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhyam Karmam Hrit Rogam Asu Apahinoti Achirena Diraha. So that's the verse. Hrit Rogam Asu Apahinoti Achirena Diraha. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young girls of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus, he will quickly become sober and conquer over lust, the disease of the heart. So, hearing the Krishna's activities with the young girls of Braj, hearing or describing is a solution, is the panacea, is the medicine for curing the disease of the heart, which is this lust, so that one can again experience this adiras, which is the loving relationship that exists between Krishna and the living entities. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his presence was so powerful that instantly he gave any living entity the opportunity to experience it. But now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not personally present, but he has given us the Maha Mantra. And he says, if we chant this Maha Mantra carefully, attentively, nicely, we can get the same result. So, hearing the pastimes of Krishna dancing with the gopis and chanting the Maha Mantra very seriously without offenses will help us remove this, what is it? Hirit Rogam, the disease of the heart. So if there are any comments, they are welcome. If there are no comments, we call it a day.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
As always, thank you so much for this wonderful Krishna Katha. And as you rightly indicated at the very beginning of the Katha, you said that this is a very difficult subject matter. And even within my own small head, there are about 12 questions I have.
I see.
And well, we have Madhavan Prabhu sent up. Madhavan Prabhu, please, you may unmute and go ahead to ask your question or share your reflections.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Madhavan Prabhu. Always happy to see you.
Also pleased to see you again on this platform. Thank you very much for your concern and the effort for being on this platform. We so much appreciate it. Very educative. Like you rightly put it, you said the topic is difficult in the sense that, let me off my video, in the sense that to pass judgment on Madaditi or Kashyapa Muni, I think it's difficult.
Yeah,
because
difficult.
The situation appears as if is the will of Krishna.
Yeah.
Because Krishna is called the supreme will.
Yeah.
And also that by his will everything is happening.
Yes.
And even not a blade of grass moved without the supreme will.
Yes, yes, agreed.
So Madaditi was honest enough to express her feelings that is beyond our own control.
Yeah.
Completely beyond her own control, the urge. And then she also have motive. I don't think she hasn't got a child.
Yeah.
Whereas the other wives, they have children.
Children, yes.
So, and then he has an husband who is always meditating. Always meditating. So when is he going to finish his meditation? We don't know. You know, because it's a morning.
Yeah, so, I think somewhere Prabhupada mentioned that he says Kashyapa wasn't meditating on the Supreme Lord. If he were meditating on the Supreme Lord, he would have resisted the approaches of Diti. And he was meditating on something else.
I think it's the will of Krishna that prevailed on even Kashyapa Muni, because he was meditating on the Supreme Lord. So it's rightly situated. It's rightly situated because it's already in trance. So I want to think it's the will of Krishna. It's desire of Krishna.
Yes. That's true, Prabhu. Actually, you know the story of Jai and Vijay. It was Krishna's desire they should come into the material world. And also, how did they come into the material world? As demons. They have to come through some arrangement. So it's true that it was Krishna's plan that these two demons will come into the material world and act as opponents or enemies. And in that way, they can serve the Lord's desire by wrestling with him, by fighting with him, and so on. Krishna wanted to come and play this game of fighting. But as Prabhupada will say, in the spiritual world, there is no opportunity for that fighting. So when Krishna wants to exercise his will for fighting, he comes to the material world. And who is powerful enough to fight with Krishna in this material world? No one. So Krishna sends his own personal servants to come and act as opponents and serve the Lord in that capacity. So it's a fact that their coming to the material world was already arranged by the Supreme Lord. And so all the other things that follow, the cursing by the Chatusanas, Kumaras, and all that happened is all under the directions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Deity is just an agent. I agree with you 100%.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Like I said, I have about 12 questions, but I'm not even going to. We
can answer some, not all.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there yet, but just to reflect on Madhavan Prabhu's viewpoint.
Yeah.
I tend to disagree with him.
Okay.
And therefore, I cannot say I disagree with you, the speaker, but I would want you to kind of explain how everything that happens in one's life is due to Krishna's plan. And if everything that happens in one's life is due to Krishna's plan, then who are we to complain about anything anybody does? And therefore, if deity being overpowered by lusty desires, as she herself describes it, if that is Krishna's desire, then who are we to say that what she did was improper, so nobody should try to follow suit? I don't know if any of us would want to ever advise anybody. Like if you have a daughter, you have a sister, you ever going to advise her to do just as Diti did, that when your husband is in meditation and you have the urge to have sexual affair, don't mind about whatever he's doing. Just go and then I don't know if anybody will give such an advice. And that is why I want you to help explain why, like Madhavan Prabhu is thinking that it is Krishna's desire that Kashyapa and Aditi will behave the way they behaved.
Thank you.
Yeah. In addition to Sade Prabhu's concern, my respectful obeisance to you.
Yeah.
And to the devotees. Yes, I was also thinking, if that was Krishna's desire, then we can also say that the sages who were in meditation and were approached by different women to allow them. We can say that they were all Krishna's plans.
Okay.
But if they were Krishna plans, some of them were able to go over it. Like Haridas Thakur was able to stand.
Yeah.
Was Krishna's plan, but Haridas was able to stand.
Yeah, that's right.
Lord Indra had to send the heavenly damsels to Vishwamrita, but Vishwamrita wasn't able to, and he got allowed.
Yeah.
And how can we then say that, austerity listening to your Sunday, the Sunday lecture, and we're talking about austerities.
Okay, you listen to
how? Yes, I did listen to it. It was so powerful, and thank you very much. Actually, I listened to it twice.
I see.
Because Bhisma Panchaka, I tried to observe it, and so I was looking, for something for my encouragement, and so I was listening to that, and it was so nice. And, how can't we then say that they were also part of temptation to test your faith? Because if you're able to pass through, then you gain the power, you gain the mercy, you get, that spiritual upliftment. How can we then attribute it that it's also part of the temptation that is to test us? And if we're able to resist, then we get the utmost benefit of our austerities.
Yes. Your question is also is just it joins Sadhe Prabhu's question.
Yes.
Is a counterpart of his question. So we will address the two of them together. It is certainly true that there are certain behaviors that are not accepted as standard. And no father, mother, responsible fellow, guardian would advise his wards to behave that way. So as the story goes, Kasyapa Muni was in deep meditation. I think somewhere Srila Prabhupada writes that maybe he was meditating on the impersonal Brahman. Because if he were actually meditating on the beautiful form of Krishna, he would not have been attracted to the allurements of deity. But because he was meditating on something less, so he lost control. So, but Haridas Thakur, because he was deeply relishing the holy name, relishing Krishna Prem, which is the topmost, Maya Devi herself could not have any influence on him. So in this situation, we can say yes, every situation is a test to see our determination, to see our preparedness to move forward, our desire for progressive movement forward. So we see it as a test to see how we handle the situation. And so Haridas succeeded, other great sages succeeded, but Vishwamrita failed, and Indra failed, and Kasyapa failed. So, but in the case of Kasyapa, we can say because these two demons, they had to take birth in the material world. They were actually sent to the material world. Lord Vishnu wanted them to take birth in the material world. And somebody must be their parents. And so, even though Kasyapa was in trance, the wife was able to bring him out of the trance and lure him into a sexual affair. So in that case, we can say they are simply agents. They are playing the role of agents to bring into the world those two demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipur. Because they must come as demons, they must oppose the Lord, and they have to serve the Lord by fighting with the Lord. So therefore, whatever was necessary to make them demons, necessary to make them opponents of the Lord in order to serve the Lord in that capacity, has to be arranged. So even though it was not right for deity to bring the husband out of meditation, and it was not right for Kasyapa to give up his meditation in order to have affairs with a wife, but because it was, say, an arrangement by the Lord that these two demons have to come into the material world. So in their particular case, we can also attribute their situation to the Lord's desire. I think I listened to one lecture by Bhaktivedanta Maharaj when he was speaking on his book, Transforming Lust into Love, Spiritual Warrior 2. Gurudev mentioned that sometimes that the soul that has to take birth in the material world influences the mindset of the parents. And depending on the strength of that soul, he brings about the circumstances under which he is to be born. So it means that Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, because they had to come down as demons, and because they have to render some service to Krishna, they had the power to influence their parents to actually engage in copulation at the wrong hour that would promote or facilitate their appearance and their service. So there are some instances whereby the souls that are coming into the world influence the circumstances under which they are born. I heard that in a tape. Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was dictating a tape for the transcription into the Spiritual Warrior 2, and was mentioning this. And that is why even he said sometimes, even saintly people, he said sometimes they fall down, even though they are alert not to fall down, but the soul that is coming into the world, it has some influence. And therefore, it creates the atmosphere, it creates the circumstances in which he has to take his birth. So in that sense, we can say that Krishna's plan was also there, as in the case of Kasyapa and then Diti. Krishna's plans was there that these two demons take birth to serve him as opponents. But we cannot generalize the situation. We cannot say that because Kasyapa and Diti had affairs at the wrong time, so we ask everybody, our daughters, our sisters, our friends, they can have affairs anytime, they can draw their husbands into any relationship at any time. No, we wouldn't say that. But we will say that this is a situation, it's an exceptional situation whereby the Lord's interest was served. So, but at the same time, we also consider that any of these challenges will, if we pass it, you become elevated. If you fail, you become degraded. But it is, if you go further in the subject matter, Diti was happy when Kasyapa told Diti that these two sons, they will create havoc in the world, but they'll be killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that their grandson will become a great devotee. That is Prahlad Maharaj. Their son, I think Hiranyakashipu, his son is Prahlad, his son. So Diti's grandson. So when Diti heard this, she was very happy. Then at least some two positive things are going to happen. One, is that my children will be killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is an achievement, because when the Lord kills, he liberates. That's one. Two, that my grandson, one of my grandson, is going to be a great devotee of Krishna, even from a demonic father. That is wonderful. So Diti celebrated these two incidents, that his children were killed by the Supreme Lord, and that his grandson, which is the son of Hiranyakashipu, will become a great devotee of the Lord. So we can say that the Lord's hand is also in Lord's wish is also part of the arrangement that led to this situation. But we cannot generalize it. We should understand that we have to perform, we have to demonstrate our determination. We have to perform austerities. We have to do many things. And then the test will always come. After we perform austerities, after we increase our faith, we do many things, the test will always come. And if we are able to pass the test, then you go higher. But if we fail the test, then we mark our time, or we even go lower. So, but in the case of Kasyapa and Diti, we can say, because the Lord wanted to come into the world to perform these pastimes, so they were also under the influence of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the answer I can give. If anybody has some contribution, please feel free to contribute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else with contribution? Otherwise, well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. I have this question about there is a verse you referenced wherein Srila Prabhupada was saying that when the loving entity abandons the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, which is Krishna Prema, and finds himself in the material world, the Krishna Prema tends to lusty desires. So my question is, lusty desire is a man wanting to have this romantic relationship with a woman, or vice versa, a woman with a man. And if it's lust, then when does Krishna saying that he is sex life and is not contrary to religious principles, when does that sex life not seen as lusty desires, but as Krishna's energy, Krishna's desire, in the sense that Krishna states that his sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. But in one other sense also, a man having a relationship with a woman is lusty desires, and the lusty desires have nothing to do with the Supreme Lord. So where does this lusty desires fall into play, and when does the Supreme Lord describing himself as sex desire fall into play?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, Krishna says the sex desire which is not contrary to religious principles, he is that sex desire. So what is sex desire which is not contrary to religious principles? That is sex for the purpose of procreation. When sex is conducted for the purpose of procreation, is considered a religious act. Now, as you said, you cannot separate sex from lust. Because if there is no lust, then there won't be any sex. But we can channel that energy in the service of the Lord. In other words, even though sex means lust, but that lust, when used for a proper purpose, Krishna accepts that as religious. Just like a surgeon may use a knife to operate a patient and remove a disease, and the government authorizes that. The surgeon is paid for that. But if a madman or somebody gets angry and take the same knife and stab somebody with it, he is sent to court and jailed, if not killed. So it is the purpose that makes the difference. The same knife, when it is used to operate a patient and take out some disease, the doctor is paid, the surgeon is paid, he's appreciated. But if the same knife is used to stab somebody to death, the fellow is in trouble. He is accused of murder, and he may either be killed or jailed for life. So the same way, even though sex has no other basis except lust, but that lust can be directed to the service of the Lord by engaging it in producing nice children. And Krishna says that sex, which is meant for procreation, he accepts it as religious. So, and of course, our founder Acharya also gave us some guidelines how to make it more religious. It is said that Prabhupada told his disciple couples, that before they engage in sex life for the purpose of procreation, they should chant 48 rounds or 50 rounds of japa to spiritualize their mind, spiritualize their hearts before they come together for the purpose of procreation. Whether the devotees follow that or they didn't follow that, whether devotees are still following it or they're not following it, that's a different thing. But Prabhupada said, when the couples, both husband and wife, when they chant more rounds before meeting, it creates a very congenial environment for attracting a very highly developed soul. So, sex is lust, but it can be used in the service of the Lord. In fact, it is said that anything can be used in the service of the Lord. Yukta Varagya. Devotees practice Yukta Varagya. We accept everything and we engage that thing in the service of the Lord. So the question is how to engage it, how to utilize the opportunity to utilize any facility and every facility in the service of Krishna. That is the challenge there, how to employ it. But if we can employ it, and in the case of sex, the meditation should be, we want to produce Krishna conscious children. We want to produce nice children who will take up Krishna consciousness. So if that meditation between a husband and wife is to produce nice children and train them up in Krishna consciousness, Krishna accepts that sex life even though it is based on lust, lusting desires, lusting attraction, but Krishna accepts it as religious sex. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, it answers, but it still creates
some doubts.
Doubts, yes. I know Arichakra Prabhu sent this up, but Arichakra Prabhu, please, my apologies. Give me 1 minute. If you may, Prabhuji, His Grace Srivas VANACARI, if you may try to give a little bit more elucidation on there cannot be sex life without lusty desires.
Yes, I agree.
Because I am thinking that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had so many children, and I'm wondering if his children were begotten when he was lusty after sex. I understand His Holiness Guru Govinda Maharaj, he had children before he became a sannyasi, and he only saw the wife a couple times, and each time he saw the wife, there was pregnancy. So that tells me that it wasn't lusty push or pulling that made him engage in affair with the wife, but he saw that as a duty. Another example that comes to mind is Satyavati asking her beloved son Vyasadeva to have an affair with Amba, Ambalika, and what's the third one? Ambika.
Yeah.
Yeah, these three ladies. And I'm wondering if Srila Vyasadeva had an affair with them because he was having lusty desires. And I'm thinking that he saw that as a responsibility that his mother had asked him to engage in. So that again boils down to my question: how does every sexual encounter be considered lusty desires? And if that is the case, where does Krishna's statement comes through? And again, when you were saying that if it is for procreation, that is what Diti was asking the husband to do. She wasn't pulling the husband simply because the Cupid was overshadowing, overpowering her, but she herself wanted to have kids. And so I don't know if there is also a particular time added to if you want to have kids. This is the only time you should meet with your husband or wife. I don't know those details, but I'm wondering how Srila Vyasadeva was implored to engage in that act, and then he did that. In fact, he was again asked to do another time, and he pleaded with the mother, said, no, I'm done with this service, I won't do it again. So if you may give a little bit more light to no lusty desires that cannot be sexed in this material work.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Your probing questions. Actually, there are a number of examples like that where sex life was completely free from lust. It's true. Like you mentioned Guru Govinda Maharaj. I think he had 4 or 5 children of thereabout. But he said the number of children he had with a wife, it means the number of times he had sex with a wife. So his sex life was purposeful. That is actually above the standard is in his own class. And similarly, personalities like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a liberated soul. So, but why was he engaging in sex life? Because he wanted to create preachers. He wanted somebody to succeed the preaching mission that he was creating. And so Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, Bimal Prasad, was that personality who took over the father's printing, publication, and so on. That was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's desire. He wanted a first-class son who would take over his preaching mission. And so his desire of bringing forth children was just to create devotees. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, even though he was a nice sticky brahmachari, he was a lifelong brahmachari, but he also made some very strong statements about sex life. He said that if I can bring in a pure devotee into this world by means of sex life, I am prepared to do it 100 times a day. So there it is clear that one can engage in sex life not just for the pleasure of it, but for the purpose of bringing in souls. So if a devotee or any person for that matter has that desire to bring in great souls to expand the mission of the Lord, we can see and we can understand that this act is free from lust. And so we have these examples. Srila Vyasadeva meeting with the wives of Vichivitira, those sons of the Pandu's brothers who died. And then even the case of Vyasadeva's birth also, his father, Parasaramuni, also, he had the desire to bring in Vyasadeva into the world. So he made this Satyavati a fisherman's daughter, and over a few seconds, the pregnancy was effected, the child was born, and everything was finished in a matter of minutes. And Satyavati went her way, and Parasaramuni also went his way. So these are some examples whereby they engage in sex not for the pleasure of it, but for serving the Lord's mission. So from our point of view, it may look like impossible, but it is possible because there are examples of it. So one who is, and in fact, this can be considered as first-class religious sex when it is mainly and solely for bringing in exalted personalities. This is a first-class, high-class religious sex. Nevertheless, even if one has some lust in him, one wants to fulfill that lust, but in the service of Krishna, he wants to bring in children, take good care of them, and give them Krishna consciousness, even though he's approaching his wife or husband with lust. But Krishna still accepts such activity as religious. So that means because Kasyap, DT desire was to get children. So we can say her desire was religious. The only issue was the timing. The timing was wrong. It was in the evening, getting to dusk or after dusk. And it is said that that's the time Lord Shiva is moving with his hoglings and ghosts and disembodied beings. So it is not the appropriate time to have sex. And even DT was requesting her husband to approach Lord Shiva, who is his brother-in-law. Lord Shiva is also married to Daksha's daughter. DT is Daksha's daughter. So he was telling the husband he should approach Lord Shiva and beg pardon so that he does not place horrible souls in her womb because they had sex at the wrong hour. So the issue with DT was the timing. Other than that, she was desirous of progeny. And Krishna says, such desire to create progeny is religious sex, and Krishna identifies with it. So there are those people or those personalities who may just engage in sex life, not for the pleasure of it, but for procreation. That is first class. But still, there are some people who may engage in sex life to enjoy the pleasure of it, but at the same time, for the purpose of procreation. And so, bring them up in Krishna consciousness. Krishna also accepts that as religious. But we can categorize it as first class, second class, and third class. And the first class is where the couple, they are not doing it for the pleasure of it, they are doing it as a service. And then the second and third class depends on the degree of lust that was exhibited during the act of sex life. This is what I can say in this regard.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very, very, very clear to me, and I believe to others also. Thank you so much. To majority of us, at least myself, I know when I engage in that act is due to lusty desires. But there are other great souls who are unlike me. Harichakra Prabhu, please, you be on mute.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare
Krishna, Hare Chakra Prabhu.
All glories to Gurudev, all glories to Prabhupada, and all glories to you.
And all glories to you. And I see your glories in Vrindavan and in Mayapur.
Yeah. By the mercy of the devotees, we were able to make it over there.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going back to the questions Dev and Govinda Prabhu were asking before.
Okay.
So sometimes it becomes a little bit confusing because Krishna has said so many things that not even a blade of grass can move without my sanction. He has also said that every path that everybody follows. He said everyone is following his path in all respects.
That's right.
But he gives a condition. He said, as you surrender, I reward you accordingly.
Accordingly.
So this is my belief. I don't know if my belief is right or wrong, but you can clarify it for me.
Thank you.
If somebody wants to go and pickpocket and Krishna doesn't agree, can he pick the pocket? If Krishna says no, Krishna doesn't agree that the person picks pocket. To me, I think the person can never pick the pocket if Krishna doesn't agree. So once you decide to go and pick the pocket, then Krishna must bless you before you can pick the pocket. But he has already told you that when you go and pick the pocket and the slap is coming, he will not take the slap away because he will reward you accordingly. He will reward you according to the desire you have to pick the pocket. And the reaction is to get slaps. So So my personal belief is that everything that we do here, we do it based on our desires. And once we desire something, then Krishna sanctions our desire. And because we can have, our desire can be wrong, it can be right. And if our desires are wrong, we are rewarded accordingly. If our desires are right, we are rewarded accordingly. So that clarification is what I want, that whatever we do, you almost answered my question when you brought in the issue of Uta Viragya.
Okay,
Uta Viragya, yeah. But as you went on, I got confused again through the explanation you were giving. So first, I want that clarification to be done for me. That would there be any meaning to our free will? Because if Krishna doesn't listen to our free will, then what is the meaning of free will? In other words, whatever we want to do, personally, I'm thinking Krishna will sanction it. Krishna, as long as we have the strong desire to do it, Krishna will sanction it. But he has arranged this world in such a way that when the resource is coming, he will give you the reward according to the desire that you had. And we see a perfect example in the Bible in Matthew chapter 18, verse 7, where he says that this temptation, no matter what you do, the world, he said, woe unto the world because of sin. Whatever you do, the sin will come. But woe unto the one who allows himself to be the channel through which the sin appears. In other words, the thing is already arranged. But if you give yourself you become a channel, you open your heart to be the channel for that bad thing to come through you, then he says, woe unto you, you are going to suffer the reaction. So maybe, can you help me for a little bit clarification on this point?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the Krishna sitting in your heart, he has two functions. The super soul has two functions. He serves as a witness, and he also serves as a permitter. He's a witness and a permitter. He witnesses whatever we are doing, and he also permits whatever we are doing. Without Krishna's permission, I'm looking for a verse. It's a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is described as what is the verse? He is described as Anumanta. I can't remember. He serves as the witness and as a permitter. The witness and as a permitter. I'm looking for that verse to help me. Also, it's mentioned somewhere in the Bhagavatam 85. No, I can get it. Upadrastum, Anumanta Upadrastum. Anumanta Upadrastum. That's what I can remember now. Anumanta Upadrastum. Krishna is mentioning in the Bhagavad Gita that he serves as a witness, Upadrastum, Anumanta, and the permitter. So first of all, Krishna witnesses whatever we are doing. That is his job. He witnesses. He takes witness. There is nothing that goes on in this world that Krishna doesn't know or Krishna doesn't see. He sees. Now, when something is wrong and a living entity wants to do it, he needs the permission of Krishna. So Prabhupada explains that first of all, Krishna will try to dissuade the living entity from doing it. But if the living entity insists, then Krishna gives the permission. All right, you do it at your own risk. So, and that is where the statement that nothing goes on without, no blade of grass moves without Krishna's permission. Because the super soul functions in these two ways. He witnesses everything that goes on, and based on the desires of the living entities, Krishna permits what the living entity has to do. He does not compel us to follow his wish. He gives us a choice to do what we want to do. So when we are desiring something, Krishna will try to persuade us not to do it, if it is bad. But it is said when a living entity insists or persists, then Krishna says, all right, you go ahead and do it. But the consequences, you have to bear it. So that nothing happens without Krishna's permission, yes, it's true. But Krishna only acts according to the desire of the living entity. Krishna may have a different desire, and the living entity may have a different desire. But because of the free will, Krishna does not want to take away our free will. So he said, okay, you want to do that? Go ahead and do it. But the consequences, you will bear it. So in a sense, Krishna is only allowing us to do it because we want to do it. Left to Krishna alone, he would not want us to do it. But because he does not want to interfere with our independence, with our free will, he said, okay, my dear son, this is not good for you. This will bring trouble for you. I wouldn't want you to do it. But since you insist in doing it, all right, do that at your own risk. So that is where the permission comes. But that permission is only given because the Lord wants to fulfill the desire of the living entity. Whether good or bad, the living entity is desiring that, and the Lord tries to persuade him not to, and he insists. The Lord says, all right, go ahead and do it. But the consequences is yours. I won't get involved in the consequences. So, yes, Krishna permits the living entity to do some things. Krishna witnesses what is going on. He witnesses and he permits. But that does not mean that Krishna is involved in a decision. No, Krishna is not involved in that decision because Krishna does not interfere with the independence or the free will of the living entity. But he does give the permission according to our desire. So both free will is there. Krishna allows the free will to be expressed. At the same time, Krishna acting as the well-wisher. He is the well-wisher. Suhridam Sarvadehinam. Krishna is the well-wisher of the living entity. He is the best friend of the living entity. So as the best friend, he plays a role. He tries to inform us, persuade us, dissuade us not to engage in activity that is detrimental. But when we insist, The devil said, all right, you do it at your own risk. So there is free will. No doubt about it. Krishna does not interfere with our free will. And there is also the permission, because Krishna is overseeing every activity in the whole universe, whole creation. If he tried to persuade us not to do things that will cause problem, that will go against us. That is as a well-wishing friend, as Suridam. His duty is to advise, to guide. But when we insist, when we don't want to listen, he said, okay, do it the way you want it, but the consequences will come to you. So both things are there. The free will is there to act the way you want. Krishna's position as super soul, who witnesses what you do and allows you to do what you want based on your desire. Both are there. Free will is there. And Krishna's supervision. Krishna is a supervisor. So he plays a supervisory role to advise. And if we don't take, he removes his hands and said, okay, you go ahead, do it, but carry the consequences. I don't know whether this has thrown more light or it has thrown more darkness.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much. And I will wait to ask a question because I have another follow-up question also.
I see.
Hare Krishna. I have a little contribution. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please go ahead and contribute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry that the time has gone, but I just want a very brief contribution based on your explanation. I believe everybody goes to church or temple to make prayers to the Supreme Lord. Everybody. And Krishna, just like you said, as a friend, a well-wisher, and the benefactor of all living entities. For instance, somebody wants to go for a robbery. It's an armed robber. He wants to go for armed robbery. He has to pray to Krishna. And they also made a pledge that Krishna, I know this thing I want to do is not good. Actually, it's not good. But if you permit me to go this time around and you give me success, that will be the last time that I'm going to do it. So please, I need your protection this time, and it's going to be the last time. But of course, after being successful, because Krishna will give him the success, actually, he will escape. The plan will go as planned, and he will escape. But he's going to do it another time. So the time that it is caught, instead we understand, oh, this time around, Krishna has catched me. You know that it's God that catched him because God has been helping him. And so just like you said, when we have a plan that is not good, Krishna will not encourage us. But at the same time, he can still give us some a long rope because it's very merciful. He gives us a long rope, but he is the one that is making the person to be successful. But at a point in time, he has to face the consequence of his evil action. I don't know if it makes sense, Maharaj. Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you. The verse I'm looking for is 13:23. Bhagavad Gita 13:23, where Krishna says, Upadrasta anumantacha Varta Bhukta Maheshwara Paramameti Chapi Ukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. So Krishna plays this role as the overseer and the permitter. So whatever we are desiring, Krishna will permit based on the strength of our desire. But then the consequences that follows that decision or that action does not touch Krishna. Krishna is not involved. It goes to the living entity who performed the action.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, His Grace Shivamara Prabhu had provided us with a verse, and we'll put it up on the screen, but you had your eyes closed, so I guess you didn't see it.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Prabhuji, like I always say, almost every single time you speak, you cause a lot of trouble in the sense that the class becomes so nectarian, we do not want to leave. And I just looked at the time, we've been here for 2 hours, 20 minutes. And the witnesses, I believe, still have lots of questions.
Varaha Prabhu, number hands is up.
Yes, Shima Varaha Prabhu, so please you may unmute. And I am thinking that this may be the last question or contribution, and then we may call it a day, so others may be able to do what they need to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Shima Varaha Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to the assembled devotees. Thank you very much. So many very beautiful points, and I just wanted to drink more of the nectar before opening my mouth, because it's better to hear more than wanting to speak. But since you've invited us to make contributions, so I'm going to do one or two contributions.
Good. Yes, I also want to hear you.
Well, so many. First thing, I will want to advise devotees to read chapter 4. To read chapter 4 from 17, Karmano hi Abhibodavyam, the nature of action is very difficult to understand. And then from that verse 18, 19 to 21, it will clarify most of our questions. So please. And then also I want to advise that we should look at chapter 3, text 38, where Krishna says, as the embryo is covered by, as fire is covered by smoke, embryo is covered by the womb, every activity is covered by lust. The living entity is covered by different degree of lust. And from that verse also onward, the Lord explains how a devotee engaged in whatever action is free from sinful reaction, and all his undertakings is like he's doing nothing. So for the devotees who do everything for the pleasure of the Lord, then there's no question of lust. But anyway, these things I explain better in those verses. When we go to chapter 3, text 38, then read the subsequent verses, 39, 40. The Lord has explained this, and Prabhupada give very nice explanation how devotees, even though that the living entity is covered by different degree of lust, and the transcendentalist, when they engage in any undertaking, it's like they're doing nothing. Even though they eat, they drink, they do everything, they evacuate, but it's like they do nothing. So we cannot compare the activities of a mundane person who is lust-driven with that of a devotee who is engaged in service of the Lord. So there are distinctions. And also, final reference, chapter 18, text 48, similar to 338. There also the Lord says that every endeavor is covered by fault. That one should not give up this activity out of fear of whatever. So a devotee is married and he has to procreate, he has to meet with his wife. Then he doesn't say, no, I'm afraid. No, there may be some imperfection in it, but if it's your duty, then it gives perfection. That is what it is explained in 1848. I think we can also go and read that. So the questions that are raised are very nice questions. The Prabhu has also done justice to them. But I'm only making these contributions so that we can deepen our understanding that there is a difference when we're talking about lost, driven, living entities who are materialists, and we cannot compare them or their activities with that of the devotees, even though they may be engaged in the same thing. Now, if you allow me, I don't like dragging on too long, but I will share this story, which will very much enliven devotees. Some of us and Prabhu SRIVAS will definitely know this guy, Professor Powell, in Nigeria. I actually met him on Sankirtan and I gave him books. And he refused the books and he gave me an appointment to come to his office because he's also a guru. And he said he's also a guru. That's what he told me, that I should come. And I went to him. Anyway, I met him the day Bhakti-Pad was around, and then we were really trying to do a lot of book distribution to please him. So that day I went and I was lucky to meet him because I was going every time and I wasn't meeting, but that day I met him. And this guy invited me to his office. I was going to give him Bhagavad Gita, but I got into his office. He showed me his library of books, and he said, I have all books. I don't need any other book. And then he started challenging me, what can you do? Where I am, I can command witches, I can command sorceries. He was bragging all what he can do. And then immediately he said, let me show you the small thing. And he tore some papers. He put them inside a sack like a chanting bag. He opened it to show me it was empty. And he put these papers inside, torn papers, white papers. And then in a few minutes, he started drawing out Naira notes, new ones. He was just bringing them out. He said, see, so I can do this. What can you do? So that's doing a challenge. What can you do? So then I just told him, I said, when a child has new clothes, it's always doing him like he must go out. He wants to go out to show the new clothes, you see? But the adults who have already worn so many of them, it doesn't mean anything to them. So I said, so that's your case. And the guy was shocked to hear me. He said, give me that book. He took the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita was sealed with plastic. So he tore it open, and he just opened it into, like that. And he started reading the first page in front of him. And what he read out was a chastisement. A devotee of the Lord may be engaged in ordinary activities like going to the market, like doing construction, like selling. But if anyone sees him, if anyone looks at him like ordinary, that person has a hellish mentality. He read it loud and he covered it. He said, okay, how much is the book? So anyway, so I showed him the book. Now, it is that passage that I remember now. Devotees may be engaged in all kinds of activities, but one should never think that he's also engaging his senses like others. We should not make that mistake. So a devotee is engaged with his wife, is rearing children, but it's not like he's doing service. Whatever a devotee is doing, he's doing service. And Bhagavad Gita goes further to say, even if he kills, he does not kill. Once one who is on the transcendental state, even if he kills, he does not kill. So we have to be careful that we don't think that whatever devotee does is just like what other ordinary people do. A devotee is in a transcendental stage, and all his activities are devoid of attachment, and they are done for the satisfaction of the Lord. So anyway, this is my little contribution. Thank you very much. Professor Power, anyway, later became a devotee. He shaved his head and became part of that. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I will just conclude by saying that these points you raise, interesting points. The story between Krishna and the gopis buttresses this point. It is said that once the gopis, they wanted to go and offer Prashadam to Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni lives on the eastern side of the Yamuna in Vrindavan. His ashram is still there till today. So the gopis, from time to time, they would send some nice preparations for Durvasa Muni. So the gopis, they got to the river Yamuna. It was overflooded with water, and there was no boatman to cross them. So they were wondering how they were going to cross the river to go and give Prashadam to Durvasa Muni. All of a sudden, Krishna appeared on the scene. And they saw Krishna. They said, "Oh, Krishna, what do you want here? What are you doing here?" And he also said, "Well, I'm just going somewhere." What are people doing here? They said, "We wanted to cross this Yamuna to go and give the Rasamuni some prasad. But the river is overflooded with water. We can't cross, and there's no boatman in sight. Please, can you help us?" And Krishna said, "All right, I will give you a mantra. If you chant that mantra, the Yamuna will divide into two, and you can walk across." And the gopis were excited. They said, "Oh, give us that mantra quickly." And Krishna said, the mantra is Krishna Nitya Brahmachari. Krishna is always a brahmachari. The gopis, they couldn't hold their breath. They were covering their mouths and laughing. Krishna is Nitya Brahmachari. How is that possible? When he's dancing with us every night, you cannot tell us that you are brahmachari. No. Anyway, they wanted to cross the river, and they had been given a mantra. So they tried the mantra. They chanted the mantra, Krishna Nitya Brahmachari, and to their surprise, their Yamuna divided into two. And they walk across. Happily, they went and gave Durvasa Muni his prasad. Durvasa Muni ate the food in 1 second, like a blow of a wind. He's finished everything. And then the gopis said, "Oh, great sage, we want to go back. But the river by now is overflowing. Can you help us across?" And Durvasa Muni said, "When you get to the river, you chant the mantra. Durvasa Muni has eaten nothing." Again, they were bewildered. They have just fed him with a lot of prashadam. How can Durvasa Muni say he has eaten nothing? But they had to go. They went, and when they chanted the mantra, the river divided into two, and they crossed. So when they crossed, they found Krishna standing on the other side. So they said, "Krishna, now please come. We are all bewildered by your statement and by the statement of Durvasa Muni. When we wanted to cross the river, you told us that Krishna Nitya Brahmachari, we couldn't understand it. And when we crossed the river to come back, we fed Durvasa Muni to the throat. And you said we should tell the river that Durvasa Muni has not eaten anything. So can you explain this situation?" And Krishna said, "Yes, that when you perform action without a desire, when you perform action without desiring the results, that action is considered pure. It doesn't bear any result. So Durvasa Muni can say he has not eaten because he didn't eat with a desire to enjoy the food. He just ate it as a matter of duty. Myself, I dance with you people, gopis. I'm not doing it with a desire to enjoy you. I do it as a desire to fulfill your desire. So therefore, when we perform actions without having a desire to enjoy the result, that's pure activity. And so that is the difference between those who engage in sex activities for the purpose of serving the Supreme Lord and those who engage in sex activities for the pleasure of themselves. On this note, we say thank you very much for giving us opportunity to be here. We look forward to another time. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much, and specifically to His Grace Srivas Brahmachari for this Nectarian Krishna Katha. I've been saying this from time to time that hopefully that day will come when we don't have anything else to worry about other than just hearing and relation Shri Krishna Katha. Dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all, with one voice, one heart, one love, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Srivas Vanacari for sharing his love and wisdom with us all today. Please, you may all unmute Jai. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama Hare
Rama
Hare,
Rama,
Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa
Vaishnavya
Sindhivachari
Ivacha, Patitanam
Vaishnavebhyo,
Pavanabhyo
Vaishnavebhyo,
Vaishnavyo Namo
Namo
Namaha.
Ananta
Namaha.
Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
All praise to Srivas Vanachari Prabhu Ki Jai.
Jai,
Krishna Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
All those assembled Vaishnava